What is risk? What is risk? Risk, by definition, what is that? Risk is uncertainty, right? We don't know it can happen or it cannot happen. We are not sure about it. But if it happens, it can have a positive impact or it can have negative impact on the project objectives. If it happen, it will have positive impact or negative impact on one or all of the project objective, right? Risk can be positive and risk can be negative. Positive risk is called as opportunity. Negative risk, negative risk is called as threat. Normally, we mostly think, okay, risk is only negative. No, 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 no. According to PMI, risk can be positive or risk can be negative. And the negative risk is basically called as threat. Okay? Negative risk is called as threat. Positive risk or negative risk, both are important, right? Both are important and we both need to handle those positive as well as negative risk. So here in risk topic, we have two documents that we specially take care of. Two documents that we specially take care for. One, one is basically risk management plan. Risk management plan talks about how the risk process will happen. How the risk process will happen. Process. It is an important thing. It talks about how the risk process will happen. It does not have any risk in it. Just like stakeholder engagement plan does not have any stakeholders in it, risk management plan does not have risk in it. But risk plan varies more from stakeholder plan. Risk plan only talks about the process, how the risk process should happen. Guys, there in good organization, there should be a proper process to identify the risk, to handle the risk, right? So that proper process is mentioned in the risk management plan. Clear? Risk management plan is all about the process, right? If you want to audit, are we following the right process or not? Risk management plan talks about the process. And let's say if we want to do audit, audit mean checking the effectiveness of a process. Checking, are we following the process or not? Then we follow risk management. Clear? Risk management plan we follow in that way. Okay, risk management plan we follow in that way. In addition to that, risk management plan have the risk attitude of an organization. Like what does attitude mean? Attitude means how you see something. It is, are you a risk seeker? Like you want to take a risk, or are you a risk averse? You run away from the word of risk. Okay. Are you a risk seeker or are you a risk averse? Seeker is someone who go and handle the risk. You want to take the risk. Like young people are risk seeker, right? As we get old, we try to run from the risk. Okay. So we become risk averse. But then we have risk neutral. Risk neutral, we calculate, we calculate the positive impact of the risk and negative impact of the risk. We calculate the positive impact of the risk as well as we calculate the negative impact of the risk, right? And then decide accordingly. What are you? Are you risk seeker? Are you risk averse? Or are you risk neutral? Put in the chat box. What are you? Seeker, averse, or neutral? Every human is different, right? Now, we also define, organization define what is the high risk, what is a medium risk, what is a low risk. Like how much risk we are going to take. For example, is $1,000 a high risk or not? It is $1 million high risk or not? For Apple, $1 million is nothing. For a company like us, $1 million is a dream, right? For a human being, becoming a normal human being, becoming a millionaire is like a dream. It's a big risk. So let me ask you, is $2,000 a high risk? What about $699 risk? Is it a high risk, medium risk? It all depends. It all depends how you want to perceive it. It all depends what you do. Every human is different. Every way is different. No way is wrong here. Okay? No way is wrong here. Every person is different. We need to look into that what we are going for. Okay? So we defined, okay, any risk, I called it as a threshold. Any risk above that, I will consider it as a high risk. Any risk above that, let's say I will consider as a high risk. Any risk below this one, I may consider as a low risk. I called it as a threshold. Let's say $1,000 is a low risk. Okay, $1,500 is a high risk. I'm just saying for you. That is your threshold. That is your threshold. But threshold is never 1 points. Threshold is never like it's not like $1,000 or less risk. Plus minus, we always say plus minus 10%. Okay. Anything that goes above 1,000, I will consider as a high risk. Any risk like any risk above 1,000 plus minus 5, 10, I'll consider high or low risk. Okay. So threshold and tolerance. Threshold is a number, tolerance is a range. That is also mentioned in your risk management plan. Okay. Then what is actually risk? Risk is probability into impact. Probability mean what are the chances that something can happen? What are the chances that something can happen? That is a probability. Impact, impact is if this thing happen, what will happen? Okay. Probability and impact. It gives us the risk. This is all the information we need in the risk management plan. Okay, risk management plan is approved by the sponsor and we start working into it. Then we start identifying the risk. What is the process to identify the risk? It's the same as it is the process to identify the stakeholder. Put in the chat box. What is the process? Threshold, yes, threshold is a benchmark. Like benchmark, we consider as a point. Threshold, we consider more of as a in the terms of money, you can say. But threshold mean benchmark. Expert judgment, focus group, document analysis, workshop, OPS, past lesson learned register, and very, very important, EEF. What are the political risk? What are the economical risk? What are the social risk? What are the technical risk? Right? Now, today, a new law has passed in US From today, I cannot use TikTok. I don't know you guys know that or not. From today, in US, you cannot use TikTok. Let me show you. My mobile is on the panel. No, this one I get you. TikTok is temporarily unavailable. If I can show the screen, right? I opened a video. I cannot do it. I can only close the app. Okay. So people of Pakistan, don't worry about that. In your country, is not working. In India, TikTok does not work. Right? Now here TikTok is also banned. This is a law. If I do business on TikTok and I actually post, I never have a student directly from TikTok, but I could have. I it's for himself, that's against the law. Na? We at an organization, I cannot use VPN. Na? That is a personal thing. What you do. Okay. So putting that, how do you identify that? We use political, economical, social, technical, legal, and then remember assumption log. Everything in assumption log is a risk. Yeah. Then I ask you to do your strength and weaknesses. So SWOT analysis can also give us what are our strength, weaknesses can lead us to risk. What are the opportunities into the market? What are the threats? I identify all the risk. I put them into the risk register. At this step, I don't analyze, I don't say anything. I just identify that and put them into the risk register. That is step number one. Are you with me? We identify it and we put into the risk register. A big difference in stakeholder and risk topic. In stakeholder topic, first the register was made, then plan, because the plan had strategies. Here, the plan is only a guidelines, the process how to do that. So plan is made first, then the risk is identified. Okay, just to think to remember. We identify the risk. I put in the risk register. Do you remember what we did for stakeholder? Once we identify that, we analyze them. Same goes here, we analyze and prioritize them. There are two ways how we can analyze. One is qualitative risk assessment. One is qualitative risk assessment. The other is quantitative risk assessment. One is qualitative risk assessment. The other is quantitative risk assessment. Right? Qualitative risk assessment Qualitative risk assessment is basically experts get together in a meeting, they review all the risk, they get together, they review the risk, and they immediately point out, okay, this is high, medium, low, by looking at the probability and impact matrix. Okay. For example, let's say your organization does this thing. Probability is very low, low, medium, high, very high. For easiness, let's say very low mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Similarly, impact 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Risk is probability into impact. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we multiply them, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I multiply this with this, if I multiply this with this, this matrix is actually a part of 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 of your organizational assets, and it is mentioned in the risk management plan that are you going to use a 3 by 3 matrix, 5 by 5. This is already given, and it is also mentioned as a threshold. Any risk above 16 we will consider it as a very high, here medium, low, and things like that. So what has happened? You have had thousands of risks. We get back into the meeting, we review the risk like planning pokers. Remember, we discuss that risk. We agree, okay, this is high, this is medium, this is low. Simple. Qualitative risk assessment has done. You have highlighted what are the most important risk, and we document in the risk register. 90% of the organization do that's it. They directly move to making plan for important risk. But 10% organization, those where risk management practices are very important, those which are more developed, I would say, what they do, those who are more developed, they go for quantitative risk assessment. They also go for quantitative risk assessment. What does quantitative risk assessment mean? Quantitative risk assessment mean you have advanced tools, you have advanced tools that we use. We have advanced tool that we use basically for this purpose to calculate how much is a high risk, how much is a medium risk. For example, in scheduling, we use a tool. Okay, how many of you have made a schedule in your life? How many of, okay. And we calculate which tool, which one is the more risk activity, right? Even when we are going anywhere in our life, we calculate which activity is the most risky activity. So we identify it, we developed into that, and try to get the inherent risk into it. Na? What the risk is there, right? So qualitative risk assessment is everybody is doing that, right? Qualitative is doing by everyone. Influence diagram, this influence diagram we calculate which activity is most risky. So you can see which activity has most influence, that activity automatically become the most risky, right? That activity automatically becomes the most risky. Simple as that. We calculate in the schedule, which is the convergence activity, where we are getting more risk, right? Now, if everything is dependent on one activity and that get delayed, we are screwed. Technically screwed. Yeah, right or not? Okay, for example, all of you are dependent on me for the class today. If my light goes off, yesterday, interestingly, in US we have a power surge suddenly, and now I don't use laptop. I'm using iMac. Maybe it has happened before. I never knew if the light goes up and down. The laptop never goes out. This is iMac. This is directly running with the light. It suddenly went off, and I am thinking how to turn it on back. I don't know. I forget. Then after 10 minutes, oh, there's a button behind it. I click that button and then it turned on. This is something now living in US, I never thought about the electricity can get a problem, right? Back at home, we used to have so many options there, UPS and things of those nature. Really, in Seattle, it never happened in New Jersey. That was the first thing. Otherwise, I would have bought UPS because it's $4,000 Mac. I don't want to get destroyed because of it. You know that, na? Insurance does not cover it. Most of the insurances. 5 days. So maybe we will talk about it. How do you manage that thing? Power surge. My everything runs on power. My entire business. So influence diagram. Okay. Then we have anyone has 4 children? Anyone has 4 children? Okay. Oh, oh, Gulam Jilani sir. Finally. Gulam Jilani, I want to talk to you. The population is getting negative, guys. We need to have more children. It is becoming
Yes.
more difficult to manage them, but our parents manage this na, somehow.
Yes, please, sir.
Acha. Gulam Jilani sir, when a winter come, the season change. Who gets
Yes.
as a first person in your house?
What he gets?
Sick, bimar. Who get the first?
Sick, sick. Yes. Most of them me,
Okay,
because
okay, that's okay. So Gulam
Yes.
Gilani. After that,
And my big son, who is going to university
okay,
in and
eldest.
outside. Yes.
Then,
Then mostly me and my son, big son.
okay, let's say young, just mid, then maybe,
Yes.
okay. Now, just like me, Gulam Gilani is very sensitive, right? Winter is same for everybody. The season is same. How it is impacting other people. This is called sensitivity analysis or tornado diagram. Let's say you are at a construction site and a rain happened which event will be stopped first? This is sensitivity analysis. Now, last night it was snowing a little bit. I went outside. Now, the snow is same. It's same for my cap, it's same for my watch, it's same for my glasses. But it's same for my mobile. But I put first thing my glasses inside, I cannot use it. Okay? And then my mobile in my pocket. Which thing is more sensitive? I'm still wearing cap. Okay, it get hot, it got a little bit, that's okay. It's not that much rain. I can bear it. No, I'm just saying, my friend, which this analysis will show you which thing is more sensitive, right? For example, let's talk about my car. I have Honda CRV 2024. It has a snow mode. The first day I bought it from West Virginia, like it's far away. When I was buying it, the guy told me it was exactly 5 days from this. I bought it on 4th of January last year. So the guy told me it has a snow mode. I said, what does that do? Said the snow will happen when you go back home. So use this mode to help you not to slip. That's a different thing. They identify the sensitivity and they made it accordingly. How many of you have you seen a new Mercedes car that can hump on it? The new Mercedes car specially made for Gulf countries and sandy areas. It can actually hump like that on the tires, right? Because sometimes sand get muddy or you can get stuck in the sand. It humps. They identify the sensitivity and according to that they do it. Right? Let me ask you a question. God forbid, if fire happened at your home, which thing will burn as the first? I hope nobody says your cash. You should not have that much cash at home. What things? Furniture. What about books? For me, books. I have a lot of books. Yesterday I bought like curtains. What will be the last thing that will burn? It depends where you are living. In US, our house are made of woods. Do you know there's a very bad fire going on in LA? The entire things are burning. No, that is a reality of life. What thing will burn first, second, third? So sensitivity analysis helps you to identify. Insurance companies use it a lot. If you are sick, if you have any medical issues, your insurance changes. Clear? Okay. Sensitivity analysis. Next analysis is basically, okay, whom to talk? I want to talk to somebody. Acha ji. Asmat sir, can I talk to you? Asmat Wali? Are you with me, sir? Asmat Wali sir?
Yes, sir.
Acha. I'm gonna ask you a question. If let's say today is 19th, 25, 5th of February, 10, 15. Sir, if you give exam tomorrow, Asmat sir, what is the probability you will pass? Ji Asmat sir, what is the probability you will pass?
Ability, sir. I think 25, sir.
Sir, you haven't done even a single topic. How do you think it will be 25?
Because I was personally WhatsApp you, sir. This is my schedule.
No, no, no,
That
no, no,
one.
no. Sir, that's a different thing. I'm just saying here. I'm just saying here how you think it will. Okay, let's say 25. You said
Yeah.
25. If you give exam on 25th of February, what is the probability you will pass? It will increase. Let's say
It
30.
Inshallah, sir, it will be increased.
If you give exam on 5th of February, it will increase. Then on 10, 15, and then suddenly it become a float. This is called probability distribution curve or Monte Carlo analysis. This actually use a mathematical analysis. I like to make things funny so that you can remember those things. Okay. This use a mathematical model to plot the probability of achieving success. It helps two things. It gives you what is the probability of achieving the work in this time, its cost. We make, let on x-axis instead of time, I can put dollars and I can calculate what is the probability of achieving the project in this money, right? So this is called Monte Carlo analysis used for this thing and very important, very critical. We use it on almost daily basis. Okay. Monte Carlo analysis, we look into that. We already had a tea break 30 minutes back for himself. Now we are not having any break. Okay. So Monte Carlo analysis we use to govern that thing. Acha ji. The next tool is expected monetary value. EMV, expected monetary value. Now this is a very simple tool. It directly calculates EMV is equal to risk into probability into impact. Risk is equal to probability into impact. Okay. You see, this is called bad thing about customer satisfaction. Now my brain is stopped here that he's asking for a tea break. Let's have a 5-minute break, guys. And then we'll come back. Okay. Premcha will, I'll not give it again. Okay. Expected monetary value. Prem, are you back? We might break this for you. Okay. Expected monetary value. Simply, we multiply probability into impact. What is the probability and what is the impact? So the risk can be positive and the risk can be negative, right? Let's say there's a positive risk whose probability is 40% and it is $100 risk. It's a positive risk. What will be the expected monetary value, guys? Probability is 40% into $100. So $40, right? Okay, if there's a 60% probability and it's a negative risk of $20, what will be the expected monetary value is calculated? So whatever will be, it will be minus negative. Okay, it will be minus negative, right? So why it's minus? Why why it's minus? Because negative risk, right? It is going from my pocket. It is going from my pocket, right? Like that money is taking away from my pocket. Clear? This is something that is happened. Positive risk, negative risk. We calculate both of the risk there, right? We calculate both of the positive risk as well as negative risk and we'll see how the risks are. So for example, let's say one of the type of expected monetary value is the C entry. In the C entry, we calculate the positive impact and negative impact. You need to decide. You want to decide that shall I do this thing or not? We called it as a DC entry. You calculate the positive impact of that risk, negative impact, which if it is positive, if the positive has more value, we do that. If the negative has more value, we don't do that. Clear? It does make sense to you guys, right? So these are some of the major tools we use in quantitative risk analysis. The purpose of quantitative risk analysis is basically to give us the direct numbers, how much the risk is there. We identify the risk, right? We put in the risk register, we ranked it qualitatively, and then we ranked it quantitatively, right? We ranked it quantitatively, and now our risk is prioritized. So far, any confusion? Now I will make plans for both positive as well as negative risk, how to handle them. So risk is probability into impact. I have negative risk that is called as threat. I have positive risk that is called as opportunity. There are risk response strategies for both of them. First, they are proactive risk response strategies. Proactive risk response strategy means even before the risk happen, you just identify it, you immediately handle them. You identify the risk, you immediately handle those things. You just identify it and you go for it. Even before the risk is identified, even before even before the risk has happened, you immediately implement the response there. Okay, you immediately implement the response there. This is proactive response strategy. We have proactive response strategy and we have reactive response strategy. In reactive response strategies, identify the risk, I identify the risk, I put a risk owner, right? I put a risk owner. His job is risk owner. His job is to look at the trigger of the risk. If a trigger happen, then he will implement the risk response. Then he will implement the risk response. I will explain that furthermore in a minute or two. First, let's talk about proactive risk response strategies. Risk matrix is given there in your risk management plan. It can be a 3 by 3 matrix. It can be a 5 by 5 matrix. You just you just review those matrix and it is mentioned in your risk management plan. Any risk that goes above that, like if probability is 4 and impact is 3, 4 into 3 is answer, it will become 12 and it we will see where it tracked and according to that we will its number. It's a high risk, medium or low risk. I hope that clarifies. So risk response strategies. Okay. The first risk response strategy for negative risk is avoid the risk. Avoid mean killing the risk, destroy the risk. You make probability or impact zero. Zero multiplied by anything is zero multiplied by anything is zero multiplied by anything becomes zero. The risk is destroyed. For example, it is snowing outside. I don't go outside at all. Risk is avoided, right? Risk is avoided. I cannot get trapped in the it's rain. I can get accident. I don't go outside. Avoid the risk, right? In COVID-19, we locked down everything. That was avoiding the risk. Because if we go outside, there's a probability and impact is there. We can die, right? So we did not go outside. That is avoiding the risk. For positive risk, we call exploit. We increase probability and impact. Both of them we increase that. Probability is increased and impact is increased. Okay. Yes, these are the sort of risk response strategies for negative risk. For negative, we want to avoid it. We don't want to handle it. So we do that thing automatically, we have avoided that risk, sir. As I gave an example, that if there's a snow outside, rain, there's a risk. If I go outside, I can get an accident. I don't go outside at all. That is avoiding the risk. Okay. For positive, exploiting is increasing probability and impact. Please note, in normal English, exploit mean a bad term. In PMP, exploit is the most positive word. Exploit is the most positive. Clear to everyone? Exploit is the most positive word. Acha, if you cannot avoid the risk, then we do try to mitigate the risk. Now in COVID-19, what they did, mitigation mean decreasing the probability or impact. In COVID-19, when they opened the world, they asked us to take vaccine. People still died by after taking the vaccine. Then they opened SOPs. What was the purpose? Decreasing probability or impact. Like with the vaccine, if you get COVID, now the impact is less. Using SOPs, you will not have a connection with them with the mask. It's less problem. Okay. We use we use safety belts. Is it possible that we don't have accident because of safety belts? No. If the accident happen, if the accident happen, right? If the accident happen, the chances are less that we will get hurt. The chances are less that we will get less hurt. It is mitigated. Clear? Clear? It is mitigated. The reverse for positive, we have enhance. Okay, here, if you cannot do exploit, Ankit, what was exploit? We increase probability and impact. We increase both probability and impact. If you cannot increase both of them, you increase one of them. You try to increase one of them. Putting the best resource, right? Putting the best resource and things of those nature. This is mitigation and enhancing. Acha, if we think that it's a risk and we prefer not to handle ourselves, we transfer it to the third part. One of the way we do it, we buy insurance. We buy insurance. We buy insurance into that. That is transferring of risk. We buy insurance. That is transferring of risk. We are buying insurance. Please note, whenever you are transferring the risk, whenever you are transferring, there's always you have to pay premium. Like you have to pay them some money. That is transferring of risk. Right? That is transferring of risk. Then for positive, we can share that opportunity with someone. For example, I cannot buy a plot. I shared it with somebody else, and now we can do that thing. Okay? Right? We can do that. I can, like, let's say I want to buy a plot. I cannot buy a plot. I basically get a partnership with somebody else, and now we can do that thing. Okay, that is sharing of a risk. If the plot or the house or the building goes up, both of us can benefit. That is sharing. You see how both negative and positive they go and their differences with the plan. Okay, that is one of the way to look into that way. How both positive and negative risk are working into that way. Both risk, positive and negative risk, are important and have to be handled. Right? Both risk, positive and negative risk, can be handled, can be worked into that way. Right? Both risk can be worked into that pattern way. Now, have you noticed here immediately when a risk is identified, I'm taking some kind of action. Immediately when a risk is identified, immediately when a risk is identified, we are we are taking immediate action. Okay? Yes or no? We are immediately taking action. I call them as proactive risk response strategies. In reactive, what do we do? I call them I accept the risk. Now, talking in the term of English language, everywhere I am accepting the risk. But in technical term, I am accepting the risk means I'm not taking action right now. I'm making a plan. I'm making a plan, and when the risk is going to happen, before a risk happens, there's always a trigger to that, right? There's always a trigger to that. There's always a trigger to that. A trigger is something that happens a little bit before. A trigger is something that happens a little bit before. So when a trigger happen, then a risk owner. Who is a risk owner? Anyone can be a risk owner. He take action that. Let me explain you. You are washing clothes. You are washing clothes. Now you need to put it outside to get dry. You accept that risk that there can be a rain. You always do. But what do? You set a trigger if the clouds come or if the weather is windy. Your response is immediately remove the clothes from contingency plan. I called it contingency plan or plan A. Okay, contingency plan or plan A, right? Contingency plan or plan A. So, for example, we do walk outside. We live in New Jersey, and we know that there's a forest around it. The deer comes. We have a that one or two trees which always have some kind of fruits. So deer comes, they do eat. Now, if the deer come, there can be wolves also, right? When we walk, we always know that there can be a danger. We accept that risk. But if we feel any danger, like few days back, I heard a howl, we immediately went inside. A trigger has happened, we do that, right? This is active acceptance. You identify a risk and you handle the risk. You also have passive acceptance. In passive acceptance, I identify a risk, I don't do anything at all. Okay? I identify a risk, I don't do anything at all. Passive acceptance are dealt as a issues. Passive acceptance is basically handled as an issue. Okay? So what is happening here? We are doing active acceptance both for active acceptance is both for positive and negative risk. A risk is identified, you put in the risk register, you set a risk owner. Risk owner is a person who will handle that risk. It can be anyone, team member, sponsor, stakeholder, project manager himself. When a trigger happen, he implement a risk response plan, which is called as contingency plan. If this plan fail, sometime we also have a fallback plan, plan B. Guys, let me give you another example. Like we live in US, so there's always a risk of fire. You are cooking, the risk of fire is there, na? Yes or no? Even if you live anywhere, there's a risk of fire or not. We make a contingency plan that if a trigger happen, trigger what is trigger? Fire alarm. If a trigger happen, we use fire extinguisher. If that fail, contingency plan, we leave the room and call 911 or things like that. Fallback plan. Clear? Does that make sense to everybody? This is the day-to-day things that we do. Acha, when you implement a contingency plan, what happens when you implement a contingency plan? Or that is risk response strategy. Any of the risk response strategy. When you implement that, after that you reevaluate your risk. You have two things that can happen. The response was good, you are left with residual risk. Or another risk is identified before because of that. That is called secondary risk. Another risk is identified because of that. What is residual risk? You see, residual, no matter how much I try to drink tea from it, still some residual is left, right? I belong to a generation who drinks the entire tea, entire water, not leaving a drop, but still some is left. There was a generation actually when we were growing up, they used to leave a little bit of Coke or Pepsi or drinks. I don't know why. They consider as status symbol. I never said, nah, drink the entire thing. But still, what is left is the residual risk. Contingency plan is for risk. All plans we are making are for risk that we have identified. Of course, we are only working with identified risk. Na? If we haven't identified, we cannot do anything. Okay. So residual is the small risk that is left. Normally we accept it. Like we do passive acceptance. Like we cannot do anything about that. For example, whenever you go on stairs, you can fall down here. I know that. I just accept it. I slow down, even I can fall down. Right? There is always a risk. What is secondary risk? Now you will understand this in a very beautiful example. You go to your car was making sound. You took it to the mechanic. Mechanic changed something. Another problem has started. Has this happened to you before or not? Right? That's a secondary risk. In risk register, do we mention this risk as no? This is for your understanding, because in risk register we don't need to mention it. It's for understanding. Has this happened to you or not? You went to the mechanic. It happens to me every single time. The reason I buy only new cars, like even it's a little bit expensive, I don't buy. When I came to US, every friends of mine said, get a second-hand car. It's very cheap. It's economic. I said, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Right? I'm gonna buy new car. I don't have to go to mechanic much because it's always challenging. Right? I am a mechanical engineer, but only for the sake of degree. No, no, I cannot open an engine or anything. There is no concurrent risk. There is no concurrent risk in PM. Secondary risk, and this is residual risk. This is how you handle a risk along the way. Achha, throughout the project, you have a weekly or bi-weekly meeting to review these risks. And as a result of that, you have a risk register. You make a report, weekly report or a bi-weekly report, show the status of the risk. That report is called as a risk report. Risk register is one register. It has the entire project you are using that. Risk report for every week or every month, however you deal with the risk in your organization. However you deal the risk in your organization, you use this thing, right? Very important, risk report. So we discussed three documents. The first document, risk management plan, that plan. The second, risk register, risk report. Now we are making plan for everything. What if we have not made a plan for something or we did not identify it and it happened? We did not make a plan. We have no idea, whatever you can say, and it happened. That is called as issue. Issue. Issue is always negative. Risk can be positive or negative. Issue we consider as a negative. If a positive thing as we did not identify it, we called it missed opportunity. For example, when I wake up yesterday, there was everywhere news. Donald Trump launched a new coin. It was a now it has went to very high. So that's a missed opportunity. I could have bought it. We have weekly. The entire thing, sort of what we are discussing, the document in which we identify the risk, in which we put the risk response strategies, all those things are in the risk register now. Every single thing which we have discussed in the risk topic after risk management plan in the risk register. I missed that opportunity, sir. Okay. So yes, risk report is more of only for a status, showing the overall risk and things that. So any problem that has happened and you don't have a plan for it, or your plan is not effective, it's called issue. Any problem that has happened, it is called issue. How do you handle an issue? Step number one, problem has happened, issue has happened, put it into the issue log. Step number one, issue has happened, problem has happened, put it into the issue log. The problem has happened, put it into the issue log. Whatever the problem is, the problem has happened, put it into the issue log. Okay. Now, once you have put it into the issue log, then do the root cause analysis, like why it was not identified before. We need to do the root cause analysis by why it was not identified before. What was the purpose? How did I miss it? Right? How did I miss it? I need to do the root cause analysis for this. How did I miss it? Root cause analysis means identifying what went bad or good. Then raise a change request to handle it. If needed, we always raise a change request to handle the issue. Most of the time it is needed. Most of the time, most of the time it is needed to handle the change request. It is needed. So if it is needed, you raise a change request. Guys, who will approve the change request? Who will approve the change request? Change control board. Once it is approved, you update the issue log, you update the issue log, and then if that issue can occur again in the same project, we update the risk register, and of course we update the lesson. Ankit, just wait a minute. We update the lesson line register in the end. Okay, let me give you this thing here. Read this thing. Read these 6 steps how to handle issue. Read the 6 step. Something has happened, put in the issue log. Do the root cause analysis why it was not identified before. Raise a change request. Once change request is approved, put in the issue log. If this can happen again in your project, in the same project, anything that may happen again, we always put in the risk register. And of course, we always update the lesson and register. Okay, regarding the risk topic, please read this thing, how to handle risk in the project. Everybody. Once you have read it, please put in the chat box. Read it. Please read that. For both positive and negative risk, for both positive and negative risk, if something goes above our tolerances, we always escalate to the sponsor. We don't want to escalate it. But if it is missed, we escalate that. Once you read it, put in the chat box. Once you read it, put in the chat box. What is a prompt list? This list of risk like uh, political, economical, this is also known as prompt list, like strength, weaknesses. Sometime organization have their assets. Okay, these are the risk, like risk breakdown structure. These are technical risk, managerial risk. So those are known as prompt list. Risk appetite, just like risk tolerance, is basically comes under risk attitude. How much risk you can handle in the anticipation of reward. Like how much risk, if I say that I'm a risk seeker, okay, how much risk seeker are you? Right? If I'm a risk seeker, how much risk seeker are you? Because when we are taking risk, it's always according to our appetite. In the anticipation of reward, in the anticipation that how much risk can happen, how much risk I can take. That is appetite. G, any question from the risk topic? Okay, let's do the mind map.
High, how much is medium? Similarly, we have risk appetite. If we talk about the risk response strategies, we have two type of responses: proactive response and reactive response. Proactive response, for positive risk, we enhance it, put our best resource, exploit it, share it. And for negative risk,
Acha,
we
Hasnan,
yes,
how can you have a response without without identifying the risk? Okay, first you
sir, we
identify
have
the
to put it
no no
together.
that's okay. I got it. I saw that. First there's a sequence. You identify the risk, you put them into the risk register, you rank them qualitatively and quantitatively. Once you have ranked them, then you go for response. For what response
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want? Got it? Okay,
yeah,
go
yes.
there. First go there and then come that direction.
Okay. Risk register. First of all, in risk register, we identify the risk through interviews, facilitated workshop, focus group, EEF, OPS, assumption logs, SWOT analysis, and past lesson learned. Similarly, we prioritize it based on qualitatively and quantitatively. For qualitative analysis, we do probability into impact analysis. And if we talk about quantitative analysis, we do sensitivity analysis, tornado diagram, influence diagram, probability distribution curve, and expected monetary value. So, everyone.
Then
Okay.
response strategies, that is done, that is done. Okay, then what else you do?
Yeah. A risk report. The risk report contains the overall exposure of the risk, current level of risk, and summary of the risk. If it is unidentified, then it is known as issue. In case of issue, we put it into the issue log. We perform root cause analysis that why it was not identified before. If we need it, then we raise a change request. After approval from the CCB or sponsor, we implement it. If it is reoccurring again in the same project, we update the risk register and as well as we update the lesson learned.
Okay,
Lesson learned register.
okay, thank you Snan, thank you very much. Good mind map. G, next team. Identification of a risk. Saurabh, I categorically said it. Risk management plan does not have any risk in it. The purpose of risk management plan, Saurabh, is to guide the process. Risks are identified and put into the risk register. I hope, and I actually put it again on the PMP booklet, specifically in the bold word. that it is in the risk register. Okay, don't make that mistake again, brother. Please go ahead, Asad.
So we have risk, and then we have documentation for risk, which is risk register, risk report, and risk management plan. Under risk management plan, we have risk identification, analysis, risk attitude, risk level. We identify the risk through proactive approach, reactive approach, identified through EEF, OPA, etc., interviews and focus groups, and SWOT analysis. Then we conduct analysis. There are two kinds of analysis that we do, qualitative and quantitative. Uh, we do these analysis using the tools here, influence diagram, sensitivity analysis, EMV, Monte Carlo analysis, root cause analysis, uh, among other maybe that few we have missed. And then we risk attitude. There are three kinds of attitudes that we have toward risk. Or organizations have three kinds of attitude. Then seeker, averse, and neutral. Neutral have two kinds
Okay,
of
wait,
subdivisions.
wait here. As I was saying this before, okay, this risk management plan does not have this thing. This is a part of a risk register. Why did you put it here? This entire risk management plan only have the process how the risk should happen, right? But your mind map is saying that risk management plan has analysis, identification. No, correct it right now in front of me.
Mm, I hope I'll be able to.
At least try it
Uh,
so that
I,
it is
I will correct it.
right now.
I think.
I can wait right now. We can wait. It's okay. No pressure. It's okay.
Okay, then so I'll have to add these all again, I guess. Is there a way I can cut and
I
paste,
don't know.
guys? Expert,
Uh, Next
Yeah,
time,
just drag this to the risk register on the top, it will catch it.
super. Thank you,
analysis
Wallace.
also. Analysis also.
Okay, analysis also.
And analysis happens actually after identification, but it looks better now. Everyone else, in the meantime, improve your mind map. I don't want to see this thing that risk management plan has it. Risk management plan is all about the how the process should happen. Okay, that's it. There's nothing else into it. Okay, I
Right.
hope remaining mind map is okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
G. Next team. One more thing. You did not put mitigation. It's a risk acceptance. But go back, go back, go back. Asad, please go
Yeah,
back.
let me share, please. So
In the
here we have,
no, 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 positive,
yeah,
exploit, enhance. This is not a mitigation. Mitigation is there. This is called acceptance of a risk. Okay,
okay,
active acceptance, and then we have passive acceptance. This is active acceptance, not mitigation. Mitigation is a negative risk response strategy. Okay, correct it, please.
okay.
G. Next team.
Thank you.
I don't go into the mind maps in that detail when you guys are sharing because I'm happy you made it. But the thing is that I don't want this risk thing to be problem. GT, next team. I know now everyone will be very careful. Yeah, go ahead. Team three, what happened? Team three is Ahmed, Ali,
भाई
Tufan, Afran,
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, Said.
I thought
Said
we are
sir,
team four, sir.
तो
I'm
सही
ready to share it.
Said
I'm
share
ready
it
to
na.
share.
Share.
Sir, here we have.
Okay, so make it small.
Sir,
Let me go through it. It's a beautiful mind map. Which app is this? Is Miro, na? It's a
yes, sir.
very beautiful mind map. Let me read it myself. Oh, go up, full up. What is the first thing you do?
Yes,
Okay, positive, negative risk. Then risk management plan. How the risk process will happen. Audit, risk response. Good risk report, weekly report. Okay, go down. Okay, left side, please. Left side, please. Left side. अच्छा जी identification expert okay going forward qualitative through okay we have that metrics quantitative sensitivity analysis expected okay where are the risk response strategies
Yes, they are here.
Okay, go
Uh,
down. Go down. Proactive, avoid, mitigate, transfer. Okay. Okay, okay, that's okay. Up, up, escalate. Where is acceptance? Where is acceptance?
sir, it's at the bottom
No, acceptance
because
should go to the reactive, na. So I would recommend put it there. Okay.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
Down.
I'll do it.
Secondary risk down. Let me read it down. Secondary risk and residual. Beautiful mind map. This is one of the best mind map of risk I have ever seen. Great job. Okay.
Sir, active acceptance will be moved to the part of over here in front of reactive.
Go back. Saurav is saying something I missed. Go back. Identify risk. Where is that? Go back. Go back. Where it is? Where you do you identify the risk?
Identification, then response.
No, this is Saurabh. This is he put in the risk register. Na? He did the right thing. Again, identification is not. No, it is under. He did the right thing. Okay. Okay. You can stop the screen share. Thank you. Thank you very much, Said. G next team. Team four. Farhan and the team. Who made the mind map from that? Ansari. Okay,
Yeah,
Ansari.
we have the risk management. We have types, which is the
Again,
opportunity and threat, which is
wait,
already
wait,
mentioned.
wait, wait. For Ansari Sahab, you made the same mistake. Look at the document. Look at the document part. It is risk here. It is not under the risk management plan. Okay? Or if
Okay.
this, or if you are showing a separate thing, unidentified risk, this is okay. Identify risk, qualitative. No, this is better. Okay, this is better. Okay. Acceptance of risk comes under reactive responses. Yes, risk acceptance, both active and passive acceptance comes under reactive risk response strategies. What was active risk response strategy? Active was we immediately take some action. Reactive is we identify the risk, put in the risk register, set a trigger, set a risk owner, and then work into that response. Gee, last team, good, good mind map. Ansari Saab, good mind map. Last team, team five, Asmat, Bhavit, Fahim, who made the mind map there? Kishore. Okay. Let me look at the mind map. Okay. So identify risk analysis, up process audit. Okay. The risk. You see why RMP? What is RMP mean by risk management plan or risk management process? What does RMP mean? Kishore? Kishore? I cannot hear you, brother.
Yeah, I'm saying risk management plan.
So how the risk register comes under it? It's a separate document.
So this will be outside.
This should be a risk topic. Risk topic has four documents: risk register, risk management plan, risk report, and issue log. It's a
Okay.
separate document. Go down. Issue document. Again, the same thing you do with the issue. They are different documents. Okay? They are
Okay.
different. Okay. We have a high level idea of it. Okay, guys. Now I have a big question from you. The big question is